Welcome to the Independent Newsroom and the Floating Voter Election Hub. Well, the exit polls are in and they suggest that we are going to have a few days of very exciting counting in the European elections in particular. Let's have a look at some of the results as they started, starting with Dublin, where we have Kieran Cuff of the Green Party on 23%. That's a figure that nobody saw coming. If anything, that was around where Frances Fitzgerald was polling. She's only coming in at 14%, but should still be enough for the former Taoiseach to get her seat in Europe. But then it gets really interesting because the third automatic seat looks like a battle between Barry Andrews, Claire Daly and Lynn Boylan. One of them will go automatically to Europe, another one will take a cold storage seat, which is effectively a seat that will come into play after Brexit, and it will be decided not perhaps by their first preferences, but by these people, by Gary Gannon of the Social Democrats, Alex White of the Labour Party, Mark Durkan of Fine Gael. Well, he should really go to Frances Fitzgerald to get her over the line, and then Senator Alex Mary Higgins. Their transfers will decide which of those candidates get forward. And what's intriguing is Lynn Boylan of Sinn Féin was the only sitting MEP to run in Dublin, and she is in serious danger of losing her seat. If we look at Ireland South, the Sean Kelly, Fine Gael, set to top the poll there. Not a big surprise. On 16%, he's more or less at the point of a quota. Leona Rita, of course, who had a disastrous presidential election campaign last October, she's on 13%, and that should be enough for her to hold her seat and get back to Brussels. Billy Kelleher, Fianna Fáil, 13%, down a lot on the Fianna Fáil vote from 5 years ago when Brian Crowley was their candidate, but probably enough to get him over the line. Then you have Grace O'Sullivan continuing that big boost for the Green Party on 12% and Mick Wallace on 10%. So there's 5 seats here altogether, including one of those cold storage seats. But it's not certain that they are the 5 because those last 2 candidates could come under pressure from either Malcolm Byrne or Deirdre Clune. They're both on 9%. And you'll see we have Andrew Doyle left in there. Even though he's on 4%, his Fine Gael transfers to Deirdre Clune should put her in contention to hold her seat. And the fact that these two, Malcolm Byrne and Andrew Doyle, are on the Leinster side of this, the upper part of the constituency, it'll be interesting to see that perhaps maybe some of Andrew Doyle's vote could also go to Malcolm Byrne, Fine Gael going to Fianna Fáil. If we come back out and we'll go to Midlands Northwest, this is where Mairead McGuinness, the first Vice President of the European Parliament, is streets ahead of everybody else. 25% means she will romp home on the first count and have a big transfer that she will probably give to Maria Walsh down here on 10%, the former Rosa Tralee. Sinn Féin's Matt Carty, 15%, looks pretty certain to take his seat back. But Saoirse McHugh, nobody knew who she was a few days ago. The Green Party's candidate on 12% is very much in the running and will be seen as transfer friendly as well. So she is very much in a hunt for one of the 4 seats here. Luke Flanagan on 10%. He's the sitting MEP. He is in danger. Peter Casey, you'll notice, isn't featuring on this. He got 7%. But what perhaps is more remarkable about what's missing from this slide is that Fianna Fáil, with Brendan Smith, former Agriculture Minister, and Anne Rabbitte, a sitting TD for Galway, they have a combined vote of just 9%. And it doesn't look like Fianna Fáil are going to win a seat in this constituency, which for Micheál Martin is extremely bad news. That would be seen as Fianna Fáil heartland and somewhere he would have expected to win a seat. Now, if we look at the overall national picture in the local elections, you'll see, well, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, 23% each, neck and neck, which basically means if we're to analyse that, a general election is not going to happen anytime soon. If one or other of those had got a big bounce, maybe they'd have had a second hop of the ball, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. Sinn Féin down on 12%. That's a very poor result for Mary Lou MacDonald. Last time out under Gerry Adams 5 years ago, they were around 15%, so they're going backwards. No big bounce for the Labour Party, back at 6%. That's actually a percentage below where they were in the local elections that cost Eamon Gilmore his job. But you can see 9% for the Green Party. That is a huge jump for them and suggests that they are in a very, very strong position whenever that general election rolls around. And finally, the divorce referendum, the one that many people didn't know what the ballot paper was when they went into the polling booth today. Well, it's pretty certain. 87% yes, a resounding victory for a referendum that probably got less coverage than any referendum in history. But the people have said yes, and that means that the government will be able to reduce the waiting period that people have to go through before getting a divorce. That's it for now from the Independent Newsroom. We'll be back with more updates over the next 2 days.